Into a Wider Galaxy, Part 641. Meanwhile, at the lab. So that was a lot more involved than I expected, Vlad notes as he watches the axiom stitch the slight cut across his knuckles shut. Whoever that guy was, he got him right in the mouth, and the punk had been snarling with that knife. We confirmed a lot of things and gained a lot of useful information. Frankly put, I'm shocked that we haven't been jumped by researchers and other such unsavory sorts already, Christos replies. We're not allowed to potentially damage the contents of that room. Get out here so we can mug your ass for information properly. Someone replies, and both Ode-endowed men share a look and laugh at that. Not funny. Move it, soldier. We need information. We have demands, Vlad calls out. This is not a hostage situation. The hell it isn't. We got something you want, and we want things in return. I can get a superior officer to pull rank on your gypsy ass. No, you won't. Fuck's sake, man. Get out here before I start breaking things that'll try to break me back. You haven't even listened to the first of my demands. And what are they? A full fridge of ice-cold beer and lager to the side while we talk. Bottomless bowls of snacks, pretzels for me. Any kind of nut or raisin for me, Christos adds. And in one of the debriefing rooms with the comfortable chairs. You know what I'm talking about, Vlad calls out, and the door opens and decidedly unimpressed scientist is giving him a disappointed look over his glasses. What? You soldiers and your sense of humor. At least we have a sense of something, Mr. Scientist. Now, will our demands be met? Or must negotiations continue? For you have merely heard our cheapest offer. I can still get an officer down here. Do you honestly think that an officer will listen to you after hearing our side? Vlad asks. Probably not. Come on, I'll send some runners to get the stuff. I'll do that, another man says, leaning into the frame and saluting before vanishing. Scene change. Conference room 5, Undaunted Laboratories, Undaunted Territory, Yentris. Vlad passes over a slightly frosted lager to Christos, who quickly twists the top off and takes a swig. All right, the time is 3:20 in the afternoon, Tuesday. The date is... The scientist rattles off the date and nods. Noted by most soldiers for being a Taco Tuesday, when most newly augmented recruits get their first taste of properly spiced food, leading to a great deal of merriment in the mess halls. This is an interview and initial report of Medical Officer Christos Ekmekci and Specialist Vladimir Rats, often goes by Vlad. Functional ranks are Field Medic and Sniper, respectively. Our interviewer is Dr. Jack Samuel, no relation to the actor. Yes, that joke's been made plenty of times. Now to the meat of things. Both Christos and Vlad are confirmed other direction energy users, particularly in the sensory department with extrasensory abilities. Christos is capable of flawlessly and effortlessly divining the details about anything he is carrying, whereas Vlad is preternaturally capable of sensing everything that senses him through the same medium. In explanation, if you see him, he sees you, even if he has no way of seeing you, and if you have heard him, he has heard you. This stretches to all known senses. These two individuals in questions have just finished a mission where they have rendered aid to another set of individuals with an ode endowment of some form. This interview is to establish the general understanding of this new form of ode power and how they utilize their own, and if they did so in any novel manners. For clarification, both individuals have learned to temporarily share their abilities in some manner. Medic Ekmekci allowing others to sense all that they are carrying with minute detail that while not at the level of sheer detail that he possesses, still to such an impressive level that it is noticeable. Furthermore, Sniper Rats is capable of extending his awareness of anything observing something he is holding or a person he is in contact with. Even through a chain of individuals, we will begin with new novel uses of their abilities. I have been to diagnose and understand the ode capabilities of those I am in contact with. To an extent, it is akin to getting one's hand on an instruction manual, but not being familiar with the language it's written in. The diagrams are still of use, but with practice and further knowledge, I expect to learn much more in short order. Christos states, I have learned that I am capable of matching the gazes of a truly absurd number of living entities. Being observed by the sorcerers and an immense swarm of Hargath simultaneously has shown me in no uncertain terms that I am in fact capable of bearing witness, with no deviation in attention, to multiple quintillions of living entities simultaneously. Furthermore, I can also observe then through the other direction and across massive, massive distances. I've dropped a small recall beacon on a world we were temporarily on, but I did not recognize. Intelligence will no doubt have access to it, and if you wish to know where it is, then you can understand that we were teleported next to someone there who then observed us through the forests as we were returned to Centris. I was able to observe them right back despite the unknown location and time and engage in what is effectively a conversation at those distances. Interesting. I will inquire as to the distance and insert the information into the notes, Dr. Samuel says. Now, what is the manner of the ode ability found? Some kind of competitive compulsion, but it seemed to lack some kind of safety, Christo says. No, there was a safety, but the safety that had gone wrong. Please explain the situation in full. Very long story short, a family that split into two noble houses generations back always have a pair of competitive rivals each generation without fail. One girl from each house, always immediately hostile, always fighting, but never killing each other, but also never being quiet or showing any shame at their actions against each other. And this was compelled by the ode? It was. Interesting. So we have another potentially negative side effect to an ode ability? What was the first? In Operative Herbert Jameson's earliest assessments, up to the point he was personally scouted by Sir Philip, he was often described as an unremarkable soldier, despite passing undaunted training at a very high rank of competency. The best of the best was what was asked for, and he proved himself exceptional even by those standards, but was noted to be unassuming and uninteresting. He was actually sent as a control for what a more normal, baseline person who could also keep up to super soldiers would act like, without anyone realizing the sheer oddity of that statement. God damn, that dude is intense on a slow day and he's here for pity, Vlad asked. Apparently, his own stealth has outright sabotaged him many times. We've pulled all his records. He has been passed up for countless promotions, denied jobs, and has been treated appallingly because his stealth makes him something people are unconcerned with. Thankfully, he has personally risen to the occasion with such aplomb that he has effectively conquered what many would consider a near-divine curse. But the point stands. Ode abilities can do harm to a person, but rarely in expected manners. Still, stealth working too well is kind of expected. It showed up to protect a family of obnoxiously pretty people from being brutalized by perverts in power. It makes sense it would occasionally overshoot to keep them away from people in power, even at the cost of wealth. What we saw with Warley Satha and Brunarella, each of their respective noble houses of Soben Ride, was something different. Their ability put them into direct conflict with each other. Despite them being related, the relation is fairly diluted at this point. While it was a pair of sisters who founded the different houses, enough generations have passed that the two houses could conceivably interbreed without any risk of incest. At least 23 generations of rivals have emerged, and apparently there was another two before the rivals showed up. So the ability took time measurable in lifespans to develop, then developed simultaneously in two different families with a common ancestor. No, the power was in two pieces, pieces that fit together and matched. I got a direct look at the energy, and beyond knowing I was seeing things only in an abstract form I could actually understand, the thing that stood out was that it was incomplete, that it was designed to fit together with another part, and the two parts of the two women who had the rivalry active in them were what fit together. But they were hostile to each other? On sight and without provocation, the Rella and Satha families often meet up, and after a time, both rivals will calm down, often growing into friends. But then two young children, perhaps even newborns, will suddenly be upset with each other without end. It grows and grows until they're dueling despite local law or screaming at each other over emergency channels. And if they're kept away from each other, the paranoia and competition grows until something gets damaged or someone gets hurt. Very odd. And the energy construct itself? When one of them was damaged, apparently Brunarella interpreted her drive to compete with Warlisatha by trying to break the rivalry. She apparently went to a number of religious institutions and after trying to pray for salvation, woke up painfully aware, but not able to resist the compulsion to compete and hate. Her half of the energy construct was broken. Broken how? It wasn't a physical thing. It was flowing energy, but the pattern was outright broken in a way that it looked physical. It was like it was made of fire, but cut in half to reveal gemstones inside like a geode. Does this make sense? Not particularly, but a lot of what we have about the other direction is that it's much more conceptual than physical. If you perceive it as fire that is also a geode, then it must make sense in some way. What happened? It took some effort, but I was able to force the divide back together and repair the damage. Then I gave the entire piece a burst of energy, and Warlisatha was instantly there, and there was a following energy release. Both women were temporarily in sync, acting in the exact same way and no longer hostile to each other. Then they deviated from each other, but the hostility was still gone. They were still trying to complete, and they did a shorthand gesture game. They noted that winning that game felt better than winning a duel. And what is your assumption on things? Dr. Samuel asks as he checks his communicator and his eyebrows go up. I think, Christos begins. They thought the girls started brainstorming together almost right away, working to try and reach the conclusion first. Some kind of safety feature or side effect of the competition has gone wrong, built up generational resentment and rage until the summoning that Christos did with his fiddling cleared it out. But you summoned one of them to the other through Ode, right? Right. While surrounded by a large number of Hargath, the doctor presses, more than I've ever seen in one place. Or rather more than has ever seen me in one place. And the little bastards can look clear. Shit. Ode teleportation, Vlad begins to explain before his eyes widen. If these two women are Ode-based teleporters that are in sync with each other, like a piece of pro-TN, then we might learn from them. Think about it. We might be able to revolutionize communications the galaxy over, Samuel says with a grin, and infiltration and transportation. Sorcerers are infamous because they can teleport stupid distances and with barely a touch in the axiom. If Ode is being used, even pushing aside the risk of the Hargath, then that gets eclipsed, Christos says. They were both on the same planet, though. It might be limited by distance or location or any number of other things we don't know about. Vlad argues, either way, you will have a chance to see. For you see, both of you are being asked for. Miss Brunarella, Warlisatha, and Therasatha are looking for you all with a call from a Morirella. Oh no, Christos notes. Oh yes, come on, buddy boy. Looks like we're getting even more popular. I have the current rivals pining after me. I don't entirely want to know what a never-ending conflict between two wives is going to look like, even without them hating each other. Oh no, two beautiful noble women sharing you and competing as to who's the better bride. How terrible. Be able to reactivate older rivals. See how you like it if Therasatha and Morirella get back into their old groove, but with experience behind them too. Christos grumbles at him, and Vlad just gives him a toothy smile. Either way, you two have to talk to them, and I'm going to get as many people to pour over what we have already, and I need the scanners back so we can go over the collected data. We need to learn more about Ode sometime yesterday, before it gets out and some poor fool feeds themselves to the Hargath. Into a Wider Galaxy, Part 642, The Dauntless. On a slow day, the average centrist street or sidewalk sees enough people move through it to populate a third-world nation in the midst of a baby boom. It's actually more crowded around undaunted areas due to the sheer appeal of so many fit, energetic, and often playful men. On an exciting day, and today has been a very exciting day so far, then not only is it crowded with an enormous variety of peoples and the associated watchers, both official and otherwise. Although there's always fierce debate as to which groups count as official watchers and which ones count as annoying civilians. The differences usually boil down to If they're armed and have a uniform, they're probably official. Probably. It's not guaranteed. Ah, fuck. A drone with live feed, Vlad mutters and Christos glances at him. If there's a delay, then I don't see 100 million random alien women touching themselves while staring at me. But a live feed? Yeesh, Christos replies. I mean, it was sexy at first, but it just quickly gets to gross, you know? Especially with how many of them are so damn young. Let's change the subject, please, Christos asks as he suddenly has a very good idea why Vladimir prefers his women more mature. Hold on, Vlad says as he suddenly turns with a rifle in his hands and fires a single shot. The bang of the rifle and the shattering of the mostly crystalline drone go off effectively simultaneously. Much better. Are there other drones? Of course, but recordings of me don't trigger the whole see you seeing me thing, which means that those little girls can have all the fun they want without their freaky little faces dancing in my view. What about delays? If they're programmed in and deliberate, then I can't see them, even if it's by a single millisecond, and thank every God there is for that. But if the delay is not intended, then I see them seeing me. That's odd. How does it tell? No idea. Is this trait known and recorded? It is. Yeah, it turns out that anti-cognitohazard recording methods actually get around my awareness, which is useful, especially if someone mimics my power or, God forbid, one of my children or, grandchildren does something naughty, Vlad says as he stretches. But there's no live feed on us now. Then an eyebrow goes up and he swings his rifle around and fires off another shot. The sound that accompanies the bang of the rifle is now instead the crunch of plastics and the shattering of ceramics. Vlad waits a few moments. Okay, clear again. For now. You were quick on that one. Generally, I'm about to get a horrifying show if the first glimpse of a drone controller shows them drooling and dirty right out the gate. How the hell do you still have a sex drive? I used to be a pervert, Vlad says with a straight face, and Christos stares at him for a moment before Vlad starts laughing. You bastard, Christos remarks, and Vlad chuckles as he puts the safety on his rifle, but pointedly doesn't holster it. Soldier, why did you discharge your rifle? An officer demands. Sir, live feed drones, sir. Standard drones are illegal to spy on us. Live feed are a priority. I see. Use a silenced rifle in the future, soldier. No sense disturbing and startling other soldiers. Yes, sir. Attaching silence totem now, sir. Vlad says as he pulls out a small clip he attaches to the barrel of his rifle. A twist on it and it locks into place. Unobtrusive, not in the way in the slightest and still fully functional as another live drone shows up and the safety gets flicked off and the sound of a bullet crashing into a primarily plastic drone rings out. Very good. Carry on, the officer says and walks off with several private streams right behind them. A couple of them make shushing motions or wave cheerfully. That was a spy, wasn't it? Christos asks. What gave it away? That entire interaction was way too surreal. What gave it away to you? That was a woman. Okay, what exactly do you see when you see someone seeing you? Just them and their absolute immediate surroundings, so they're close too. But there's always some Hargath nearby, and when people are walking through where the Hargath is on the other direction, I can see them in ways that are weird. It took a bit, but I can broad details. In this case, breast bindings. That was a woman. A woman in a lot of pain. She looked like a man, and with how big the locals are, Christos notes as he looks back. Yeah, she's struggling to breathe. Those streams are going to save her silly life, Vlad says. So before we actually get into the building they're in, how do you think two rival Baroness daughters are going to fit in with your wives? Upper and middle management across 5 different competing transportation companies that service this overcrowded world, with literal nobility who are so driven that it's literally stamped into their souls? Are you going to say no to them? I don't know. I don't want to be some silly girl's crush. I want more than that. But socially holding out for more than that isn't acceptable. There isn't enough men to go around, and I've already screwed up by letting myself get seduced by a horde of businesswomen on a TGIF bar night. TGIF. Something one of the training officers back on Earth said. A thank God it's Friday bar night, where there's a happy hour for the young. I was being told specifically that if I tried to get one, that I'd be smoked until my arms broke. Christos explains. Did you do it? I can hide a hangover better than most. They only had me do push-ups until I lost feeling, then basically force-fed me enough protein to recover, and then had me go on to learning galactic trade and studying basic engine maintenance. Christos remembers fondly. Nice, I remember rucking until my legs cramped solid and then needing to turn around and do it again to get lunch. That was a fun first few days, Vlad says with a chuckle. And I bet you were using your tick to stay out of trouble. Never slacked off when they could see me, which was basically always, but there were moments, and others got caught and smoked hard. Nice, I was always able to find things in my bag and bin without issue. Made the drill instructors think I was organized. Christos answers. Heh, Vlad says as they walk through the main doors of the receiving building. This side of it was the least crowded. It was a combination visitor center and more civilian-facing part of things. It also blocked off the main paths to the rest of the undaunted compounds, and if you had any questions or non-official business with them, you came here. Officially. A lot of people tried to circumnavigate it, so those who used it got the more polite treatment. Medic Ekmekchi? Sniper Rats? One of the guards/receptionists asks. It was a job for the more social and extroverted types. Yeah? Take a left, room 113 and 14 respectively. Your wives are either here or on the way to talk. Oh, well, okay. Christos muses and thinks. Something wrong? Vlad asks him. No, I have a very quiet family life. Why was that pause there? Vlad asks. Because while quiet is the correct word, it's also cliché. Excuse me. We haven't actually interacted all that much beyond this mission and the testing. Would you care to meet my family? Only if you're willing to meet mine, Vlad says, and Christos smiles. Deal, Christos says, and they shake hands. Although it will be strange to have a proper friend outside the medic corps in hospitals and not random annoyances to rant about. Well, the lookout and therefore assistant for the newest, weirdest medical practice may as well be an informal part of things, Vlad says. Fair enough, Christos says as they arrive at room 14 first. Vlad opens the door. Hello, ladies. He begins to greet the women inside and finds himself grabbed around the shoulders and pulled into a huge kiss by Therasatha. After a good 10 seconds of her trying to steal his tongue with her own, and letting him feel the fact that she used to have a piercing in her own, she pulls away with a wet-sounding pop that leaves a stain on his lips. Well, dear woman, you certainly know how to say hello to a man. Callista, in ink-black Menenme notes before she sways up to him and gives him a massive kiss on the cheek, marking him with her black lipstick. You certainly have a way of finding them, and... Oh? Is this the magical doctor we heard about? Medic, ma'am. So formal, like all you undaunted boys. Thankfully, I already have my piece of the pie. And what a delicious, creamy pie it is, Callista says in a deep tone as she pulls Vlad in closely. So it's agreed, Lady Sada? You do know that the debate of first wife will... Darling, I am thoroughly prepared to toss my tiara in the ring. This dear boy stared down monsters beyond number and looked death in the face to unravel the mysteries that once plagued me and helped clear out the crust that turned a perhaps blessing into an undeniable curse, saving my niece and a distant cousin, and seeing as how my niece is waiting in the next room for the good doctor and our dear sniper has a type. I see. Yes, he does have a type, doesn't he? Callista asks. A girl is to be protected and taught, a woman to be seduced and fawned over. What's so difficult to understand? Vlad asks, and Therasatha's eyebrows go up as she smiles. How soundproof are the walls, dear sister? She asks Callista. Not enough, the Menenme woman answers. Well then, I suppose we're just going to have to be overheard then, Therasatha says. Don't you want to meet? Christos begins before an unresisting Vlad is pulled fully into the room, and he blinks before chuckling. Well, he's getting what he wants. The door to room 13 opens and he nods towards 14 as Ariel leans her head out and raises an eyebrow. New friend of mine just met a new wife. He wanted to have our families introduce each other, but He's busy, I can hear him, she says with a twitch of her ear. As a FOSA woman, she hears everything around her, which means that Vlad just heard that, which is going to be interesting, and likely quite distracting in the middle of sex. He actually has an ability like mine, you know. If you can hear him, and you can. We all can, well, except these girls, is called out from inside the room, and he chuckles before following Ariel in and opening his arms. He's hugged on all sides. They're all business girls, but they're all also from species with powerful ears. Ariel is a fossa alongside her three sisters, Breeze, Storm, and Wendy. A small bundle of 6 rabbis women, all from different families but all named Emily. The rest apparently can't get away from work at the moment, but dominating the room is both Brunarella and Morley Satha, dressed tightly and yet flowing. Their dresses cut in a way to hide their legs flawlessly, but also allow them to slide them out of the slits and will not get in the way of their movement. Tight bodices and fancily done-up hair coupled with jewelry and a near-predatory smile from the 2 apex predator women completes the look. They were just telling us how you had done the impossible, seen deeper into both of them than anyone ever had and touched them in ways that had never even imagined anyone capable of. Well, they needed help. Dear husband, I heard their heartbeats speed up when you slipped in. I can smell the pheromones. We'll deal with the after effects and family dynamics. They do live on another world entirely after all, but we'll figure things out. Perhaps some semi-frequent vacations or something else, and my time is up. We've agreed, dear husband. Try not to let anything get bitten off. Apuk have sharp teeth. I don't think that's a... Christos begins as Ariel steps away, and both Bruna and Worley step up in perfect sync, and from each of them a single finger tilts his head up, and the both smile. I think you will find our new competition, Worley Satha begins, is one that you and the entire family will benefit greatly from. Brunarella finishes. Into a wider galaxy, part 643, The Dauntless. The guard patrolling through the building raised an eyebrow at a softly giggling gaggle of long-eared women. He gestured toward the door. The family is expanding, the fossa woman said with a grin. Oh, for the love of... The guard started pounding on the door. Hey, this isn't the place for that. Get a proper room. This is a room, Christos called back. I have the authority to rip the walls down if you don't comply. You've got 5 minutes, you hear me? Very well, human. We shall not forget this. I'm a Tret and a new recruit, the guard said flatly. And you better not forget this. This is a meeting area and processing center, not a love hotel. Funnily enough, it was the next room over that opened first, revealing the well-kissed face of the man inside. We heard you dressing down Christos and his girls, Vlad said. Me and my women are getting ahead of that. Indeed, Therasatha added with a lascivious wink. I need to see where I'll be visiting and figure out a few pointers to pass to Maury when she gets here. She bundled up Vlad and started moving out, then paused. Ladies, please. I know I'm a bit much, but... Oh no, darling, we just wanted to see where you go and what you do. Enthusiasm is a wonderful trait, Callista said. An Alfar woman whose tattoos were of blood-red flowers with thorns whispered something into Callista's ear. The Mnenmi woman giggled before smacking her on the shoulder. Emily, stop! Oh, you know she's going to. We all did it. Yes, but that's because he's as cute as he is competent, and I've seen him do trick shots around corners with kinetics. Plasma and lasers, Callista replied. Oh, goodness. When do you think he'll have another competition with the other snipers? They've developed such strange techniques and weapons. Especially that one who's trying to be a sniper with thrown weapons. He was sharing techniques with Vladdy, dear. I've figured out how to get something thrown to sniper ranges, Vlad said with a grin. It's just the trick of doing it with improvised weapons that's still beyond me. That man can snipe with a manhole cover and then pick you off through the gaps with chopsticks. Not quite there yet. Wait, why is sniping called that? Therasatha asked as she started to leave with him, the family in close pursuit while Vlad launched into a brief history of Earth. Scene change, Building 8, 4th floor, Apartment 437, Undaunted residential buildings. Undaunted territory, Centris. I could see you actively cool down when you were outside. What was wrong? Live drones showed up. Any time delay on a broadcast means I don't have to see the audience. But it can distract me if I can see it. Oh? Nothing like seeing the faces of little girls developing far too early to put me off the mood. Any idea how we can find it again? Oh, I have ideas, Therasatha said. But first, why did the others not follow us in? The ones who like watching are currently busy, Vlad said, which is why the camera will be on for their later enjoyment. Therasatha tilted her head, a slow smile spreading across her face. Oh? Then, care to help me find out exactly where my own desires are? She asked, leaning close. The armored vest came off, and Therasatha raised an eyebrow at what was underneath. She had not expected the lean, coiled strength hidden beneath the practical gear. I think, she said, voice dropping to something warmer, that it is a very good thing the sorcerers can get me back to Serbo so quickly. I have a meeting in 5 hours. Vlad smiled. Then we shouldn't waste time talking. She didn't disagree. Later, considerably later, and with considerably less dignity than she'd walked in with, Therasatha lay sprawled on the couch, staring at the ceiling, her carefully maintained composure somewhere on the floor, along with one of her shoes. The other was hanging on by the toes. What was my name again? She asked. You'll remember it by the meeting, Vlad said. Probably. Probably, she agreed, and did not sound remotely concerned. Scene change. Building 5, second floor, apartment 2, 2-2, undaunted residential buildings, undaunted territory, Centrus. So all undaunted soldiers get free residency on undaunted property, but if they want more privacy or space, they have to look elsewhere, Orlisatha said. Yep, Christos nodded, and it's mostly used as a place to crash when you have a heavy patrol or duty schedule. But a lot of recruits like these places, huge numbers of them, are young men leaving the stifling care of their families for the first time in their lives. Good, Brunarella stated. Now, myself and my rival have had a debate as to how we will be competing. As far as our dear daughters-to-be are concerned, we are the dearest of friends and they will never hear a cross word from us. Whoever causes our children to learn of our competition is the most definitive loser, even if she had won every other contest till then. And speaking of the contest, Warlisathan interrupted, I have won the initial engagement and shall go first. Then Bruna, then we shall see who lays the swiftest. On the second round, she goes first, followed by myself. And of course we shall both see who is most casually fertile, Brunarella added. There is, of course, the question of who lays the most eggs, Warlisatha continued, the most beautiful eggs. And, Christos cut her off, girls. He gave both of them a flat look. The more you talk about the competition, the less I want to be part of it. He shrugged off his gear and set it aside in a chair. Both noble women went quiet. Are we doing this? Or are we just talking? There was a short, weighted silence. We're in a porno, one of them whispered. Or perhaps both. I'm in the porno, Christos said. Your answer? Both noble women exchanged a glance. The debate for once was very brief. Into a Wider Galaxy, Part 644, The Dauntless. Warlisatha did not hesitate. She leaned into Christos immediately, all eagerness and barely concealed nervousness. She'd clearly never done this before, and it showed in the way she fumbled slightly with the buckles at her own bodice. Christos had, many times, and he was patient. You know what you're doing, Warlisatha noted. And you clearly don't, Brunarella said from the side, a sharp edge in her voice. Warli turned her head to retort. Christos gently redirected her attention back to him. Lesson time, he said. He was deliberate and unhurried, reading her, paying attention to every small reaction, every hitch of breath. Brunarella watched from her chair with an expression that had started as mild disdain and slowly shifted into something more focused. What followed was not graceless. Under Christos's direction, Warlisatha discovered rather quickly that inexperience, when properly guided, was not the disadvantage she'd thought it was. Afterwards, she stood, or tried to. She caught herself on his arm, swaying slightly on her heels, breathing hard. Her usual composure was nowhere to be found. There was a cracking sound from the table behind them. "So that's what that does," she said, staring at the repair totem embedded in the underside of the table as it snapped back together. "That's what you have to say?" Christos teased. Warlisata went red. "It's all right. Only family is here. Even if you're in competition," Christos told her. Something in her face shifted, longing surfacing from somewhere much deeper than she'd expected. Her arms wrapped around him. She kissed him in a way that was entirely unguarded, and tears spilled from her eyes without permission. He held her. Brunarella, somehow having crossed the room silently in her heels, gave Worley a gentle hug from the other side. "I felt something too," Brunarella said quietly. "We really are linked." She guided Worley to a chair. Then she turned. "Well then, Mr. Medic, it's my turn." "Is it?" Christos asked Warlisata over Bruna's shoulder. The still dazed woman nodded. "Very well then." Brunarella had clearly spent a great deal of time being composed, controlled, and impossible to read. She lost all three within the first few minutes. Christos was using his axiom tattoos, blatantly, cheerfully, and without apology. The markings around his thighs flickered with each movement, giving him a precision and endurance that was frankly unreasonable. "You're using the tattoos to cheat," Brunarella managed. "I'm using the tattoos to what?" he replied, all innocence. That's not fair." "How is it not fair?" he asked, still smiling. She tried to form an argument. She failed. She tried again several more times before giving up entirely and simply holding on. From her chair, Warlisata let out a suppressed moan. The link between them, potent and undeniable, had made sure she experienced the whole thing at some remove. Her hand was pressed to her mouth. Her eyes were very wide. Brunarella eventually went limp against Christos, panting, blinking slowly like a woman trying to remember which continent she lived on. "That was," she began. "Round one," Christos said pleasantly. "Think you two can try tag-teaming me for round two?" "Round two? But I haven't even," Brunarella started. "Why not have fun while having fun? You're still cheating with those tattoos. These markings let me move and perform in ways that even the naughtiest of videos struggle to keep up with," he said. "Do you want it to be natural talent, or do you want hardcore material to be boring compared to your actual life?" "We can never let the family know," she said. He helped her to a chair beside Warlisata, then stood before them both. He ran axiom through the tattoos, openly, almost theatrical about it, and the energy built back up with frankly indecent speed. "Shall we continue?" he asked. "What have you been getting up to?" Warlisata asked, staring. "There are nights where I am with everyone simultaneously and leave no one unattended. I have practice in marathons. It's a point of pride for more sexually active, undaunted men." "Humans are from a porno," both rivals said at once. Christos laughed. Into a Wider Galaxy, Part 645, The Dauntless. "Hello, intruders in this lovely, undaunted greeting building. This is Security Officer Bradford speaking, and I would like to first congratulate you for sneaking into a building where you not only have an open invitation, but the front door is both unlocked and automatic. Everyone, big round of applause for these idiots." There is a slight pause as there actually is some clapping heard over the announcement system. Now, as much as this building is open to the public with information, meeting rooms and such for family members or people wanting to sign up to see if being undaunted fits them, we still take our security seriously, and our new friends who are inexplicably in the ventilation system are bound for a few surprises. Chief among them being that the vents do not lead to anything but filters and air conditioning. This is not a starship. Atmospherics do not lead everywhere. There are also numerous grates and crossbars designed to reinforce the integrity of the building and limit the patrol paths of our cleaning drones, which are equipped with electrical pistols to combat any vermin that set up shop in there. So maneuvering is going to be a trick and possibly dangerous. Oh, but don't you worry, our dear intruders. When you have understandably vacated our lovely ventilation system, you will have to contend with our security personnel, which in this low priority, and I reiterate, open to the public, building, are our lovely new recruits. armed with non-lethal but very effective weaponry and wearing our full armor. Do bear in mind that each team has a fully trained captain who is armed with full lethal ordnance. But make no mistake, the squadron's Type 22 electric rifles are not to be underestimated. For while they do not contain a lethal dose of amperage, they have sufficient voltage to help you move in ways you had never before dreamed possible before passing out. Finally, if you, like many of our soldiers, are in some way protected from energy attacks, don't you worry. We have an answer to that as well, as each of our soldiers from trainee to seasoned veteran are armed with analog kinetic backup weaponry. There is no amount of computer skills or energy resistance that will help you when the tri-tight jacketed rounds start flying. To say nothing of the standard issue combat knives that many of our soldiers, from recruit to commanding officer, outright sleep with. Anyways, should you somehow manage to vacate our vents and start your way through our lovely building and into the grounds beyond, understand that we will be increasingly upgrading our response to your intrusion. An intrusion, I must once again note, is so far entirely unnecessary. If you wanted to see the inside of our ventilation system, you merely had to ask. Bradford leans away from the microphone and deactivates it. Then another security guard speaks up. Think they're going to be smart and surrender? Hard to say. Some people double down when they're called out for their idiocy. Others back off or even have the clouds part. Whatever the actual result, we need to be ready for it. Sir, we have their location pinned, another guard says, pointing to a monitor. West hallway. They just got spotted by a dusting drone. That was quick. Bradford notes as he sees the basic visual feed from the drone show several people shrunken down to the size of mice. Compared to them, the drone is a tank, one with an electroshock cannon. Why shrinking, though? And why the vents have shrunk? Surely grabbing onto someone's shoe or something would be easier, or at least safer. A guard asks as two intruders dodge a blast of electricity that's maybe on the level of a shock from a carpet, but looks like a lightning bolt at that scale. No idea, Bradford begins. And don't call me Shirley, the room says with him. I need new material. Bradford notes as the drone chases out the 6 tiny women from the vent. Each one is so small that they can slip between gaps in the main cover. Then look up into electric rifles so large that the pistol on the drone looks like a child's toy by comparison. Think they'll do the smart thing? The tiny group scatters and goes in all directions. A disruption of axiom fills the air, and 6 full-size women are quickly shot down by undaunted recruits, cuffed and dragged into custody. Well, that was about as definitive a no as I've ever seen, one of the guards states, and Bradford ruffles his hair. Right, now that little bit of entertainment is done with, send a different drone into the compromised area. There is a non-zero chance of our cleaning drone being hacked to ignore some kind of beacon or listening bug. Then get a stream to take a look at things. I need to write up the report. Scene change. Western hallway. The public front, a.k.a. primary. Low priority office and meeting ground. Undaunted territory centrist. Here, give me a boost, Private Stream says to Private Stream, and then another Private Sterum walks up and climbs up the ladder of his fellows, unlatches the small vent cover, and then somehow fits into a space smaller than his own head as the one being carried is set down, and they both watch for the third. The vent flaps open after a few minutes and Private Stream lands next to the other 2 Private Streams and shakes his head. It's all clear. They weren't being clever, he says before turning to a camera. You heard that right? Those girls who snuck in were not that smart. I swear to God, if you bug this office, I will find out which one of you did it and make you eat the listening devices, Bradford says over the compromised link. Oh, you're going to have a hard time doing that, the instigating stream says. Oh, it's virus. Got it. I'll run a systems check, Bradford says. You know you can just tell me when we have a breach in the system. It's not like this one connects to anything crucial, and we run the antiviral on an hourly basis anyways. Half hour for a day after a physical breach, Private Stream calls up. Since when was that policy? It's being tested. You guys are the test bed. And you couldn't have just handed me the orders? Or said it to my face? I'm looking right at you, Private Stream protests. Okay, so the virus is in our internal cameras too. Got it. Those cameras don't even lead into this building. They're being told to update their own antiviral methods, Private Stream says. Are they being told through me now, or are they getting actually told? It's a mystery. The endearing personality wears to the bone in a hurry half pint. Bradford states, and all three private streams laugh, and then scatter as if they'd suddenly realized they weren't one person. Scene change. Bridge of the Flying Dog gunboat, centrist proximity, primary laneway. All ships, this is the Flying Dog, entering the centrist system in T-5 minutes with hazardous materials on board. Please keep to the standard operating procedures when approaching a vessel with hazardous material. The captain says over the comms and then frowns as a priority zero communication channel comes in from another source beyond the centrist defense or undaunted. But you couldn't ignore these messages. Not legally. This was the distress beacon frequency. Unknown craft, this is the Flying Dog. We are responding to your priority zero. Zashars! Zashars thermal. Is that really you? Ma'am, this is an emergency frequency. There is a fine of 10,000 credits for misusing it at the low end. Now, do you or do you not require rescue or assistance? He snaps out in response. Don't you dare close this connection. Apologies, ma'am, but unless the situation is life or death, then this connection must legally stay closed and prepped to receive emergency broadcasts, he says, and there is a deep sensation of satisfaction as he closes the line. He catches a glance from his sensor technician in the reflection of the man's screen and smirks. He gets a smirk back. The crew of the Flying Dog was skeletal on a good day. The gunboat was an up-armed, up-armored, and up-engined civilian vessel that was now in military specs. A tiny personal yacht that was now so dangerous that ships a magnitude larger needed to pay attention to it or die, but still so small by compare that most weapon systems would need recalibration. Coupled with its extreme low power mode, allowing it to slip out of most electronic, near thermal, and electromagnetic sensors, it mean that they would need a camera flawlessly following the ship if and when they cut the power mid-combat. Cut it just long enough for weapons lock to be lost, then re-engage and alter vectors before someone caught wise and shot them by calculating their vector. There were only 4 primary crew members, and this mission had another 3 to watch the thing in the cargo hold, which is actually a spare ammo reserve for more exotic munitions, or just more bang to carry around just in case. Captain, slight vibrations in the cargo. No other changes. Security reports. Repeat that, security? No other changes? Confirm, Captain. No other changes. Understood. Keep up the good work. The captain answers, and before the line to the cargo bay is dropped, he catches a snippet of conversation. How is watching a box for a few hours this exhausting? Focus, trooper. You're focusing. It requires brain power, and no one exercises that muscle anywhere near enough, is the response. Sir, the light is green. The channel to the bridge is still open. Shit, so much for professionalism, the security captain states. Don't worry too much about it. This was a slapdash and dearly needed mission from the jump. After all, I serve as both captain and pilot here. We could have done better, but we needed some level of answer last week and can't really afford to wait, he says. But we're nearly done. Just a little longer, and we'll all throw back something cold, foaming, and best of all, lacking in date rape drugs. The more you talk, the more I want to know and do not want to know about your life story, Captain. I don't need to talk. Look up scandals on Teeth and Plate about 22 and a half years ago now for all the details I can remember and more. Oh, rich boy, eh, Captain? Yep, and I had a full tour de farce before I was fully grown. Primals take those bitches, he says. But for now we focus. At our current in-system speed, we will be reaching the centrist dust zone in 2 hours, and at that point our deceleration will ensure we reach the world at roughly 7 p.m. in our relevant time zone. You all get that? 4.5 hours and we can all relax. He hears the cheer through the comm and through the halls of the tiny ship. You all right, Captain? The sensor tech asks, and he shrugs. A relative just broke about a dozen laws trying to get back into contact with me. But my contract with the Undaunted is legal and binding. They can't drag me back. Was it bad? Yes. Yes, it was. The captain notes as he inputs the flight path and plan into the ship's computer and properly broadcasts it. It meets full approval, and he relaxes a little. Proximity alarms all on. Unless some joker is cloaked, we've got smooth sailing all the way to Centris and our home berth. Excellent. Scene change. Private office, undaunted intelligence building, undaunted territory, Centris. They wanted to do what with him? She asked before typing again and getting the same results. It's a real, legitimate news source with several different sources, verified and accurate. But that's a plot straight out of a porno. A bad one. For people with the weirder kinks. Oh? The information specialist asks as she gets a little alert that the very people she's looking into are trying to get some kind of legal order onto the Undaunted. Apparently, they have the direct ear of several judges and are in communication with them even now. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter how many judges they know. The Undaunted are a polity. The Undaunted have their own laws, and trying to force the Undaunted to follow other laws is generally ill-advised. Still, this should prove to be at least mildly entertaining. Not that today hasn't been a fuller one than average. It's still not the most hectic and weird she's personally had since signing up as a data analyst, hacker, and general information specialist.